Hi, and welcome to Across the Desk. Well, here we are, starting a new season, Season 9, and here for Episode 1, I want to start with one of the most important issues, if not the important issue this year, and that's going to be abortion, women's health care, maternity care, as it is a winning issue across the nation for Democrats, and something they should stick with. Yeah, welcome to Season 9 of Across the Desk, Episode 1, and what we're going to talk about is abortion. Because, it is such an important issue right now. For Democrats, they're winning across the nation. This is the issue that Democrats should really be sticking with, because it is really hammering Republicans hard in all the races that you're seeing across the nation. When it comes to Democrats who are using this as their main issue, they are really winning these seats. It is the winning issue more than anything else that's out there right now. And there's a lot of good reasons why. One is women make the biggest voting bloc. They really do. They are the biggest voting bloc. And when they get together in a big coalition and you scare them enough, like with the abortion issue and women almost dying because they can't get the care they need, well, they tend to take notice and they tend to start voting for their health. And that's what we're seeing now. And you can also tell that it's a winning issue because when it comes to non-evangelical Republicans, or ones that are more centrist in their views, they really don't like this as an issue at all. If you've noticed, if you go to many of their political websites, you won't see abortion on there at all. You won't see them talk about it at all. You won't see where before the Dobbs decision they've had anything to say about it or anything else. And when the media comes and talks to them, they're quick to turn the subject to something else other than abortion. They really don't want to talk about it. Centristars don't like it. Just like they really don't like 6-week abortion bans. That makes them nervous too, because everybody knows 6 weeks, a lot of women don't even know they're pregnant until 7 or 8. And we know why Republicans want a 6-week ban. Oh, well, we give it to them. You can have it up to 6 weeks because you may not know you're pregnant. And that's the game they're playing. That's the little con job that Republicans want to play on everybody. Yeah, we're for abortion up to 6 weeks, but that doesn't help a lot of people. It really doesn't. So people see right through that ploy, and it makes centrist Republicans nervous, especially when they look at the polling, especially when they see these races going to Democrats who are just hammering away at it. And just like, hey, this week, President Joe Biden came out with his first attack ad of the year, and what was it? It was on abortion. And what he did was he used that woman from Texas who wanted an abortion because she had a non-viable pregnancy, not because of anything else, because she really wanted to have a kid, and she wants to have more kids. Her and her husband do. They would like to have 1 or 2 more. They have 2 now. They'd like to have 1 or 2 more. And this pregnancy was going to keep her from doing that. If she had to carry this baby to term, well, one, it could really be a detriment to her life. And the other thing, it could make her sterile to where she couldn't have kids anymore. So her medical professionals, the medical professionals said, you should get an abortion. So what did she have to do in Texas? Well, she had to go to the non-medical professionals in the court system to see if she could have one. Well, the district court there said, yeah, well, we're going to waive this and stay it and allow you to do it. Well, then the Dunning-Kruger effect came in with Attorney General Ken Paxton, who thinks he knows better than the medical professionals, and he's not one. So he goes to the state Supreme Court of Texas, and the state Supreme Court of Texas sides with Ken Paxton saying, yeah, you can't have an abortion. So these non-medical professionals got to decide for this woman whether she could have an abortion or not. Because, you're still okay and you're not dead yet, so obviously the pregnancy is viable, but it really wasn't. So she ended up having to go to New Mexico to have an abortion. And it was very traumatic for her. She wanted to keep the kid, even named the child and everything else, and had to go there. Now they have to worry, have the stress and the fear of possibly somebody wanting to claim the $10,000 bounty for helping someone get an abortion in Texas. So this drama's still not over for them. They don't know. Somebody could. You never know. They could try to sue somebody, like her husband or whoever helped her go do it. So there you are. She had to go to another state, away from friends and family, couldn't just go home after the procedure or anything else, and had to get an abortion that way. And that's where we're at in a lot of this. And when other women see stories like that, it really scares them. It scares them about their future, what's going to happen if I get pregnant, I end up with a non-viable pregnancy. Even if I want the kid, even if I want the pregnancy, what's going to happen? What's going to happen to my prenatal care and everything else? Well, the centrist Republicans seem to got the message, but it's the radical, extreme, conservative ones that haven't. And actually, when it comes to them, their message is, well, we need to go further, because just this week they had the March for Life in Washington, D.C., and there was Senator James Lankford from Oklahoma saying, hey, we're here to protect women and children. And that was his spin on it, you see. And that's the amazing thing, right? Because when it comes to messaging, usually Republicans, conservatives, are really good at messaging. But this issue has been one where they haven't been able to find the right message on abortion. They just haven't, especially the extreme ones. The ones in the center, they just don't have one at all and would rather not deal with it. And the ones on the very far right, well, they seem to want to double down. They seem to think that not only doubling down, but coming out and saying, oh, we love women and children. We're here to save their lives. That's why we're doing this. That's why we're banning it all the way around for anything, because we care about women and children. But really, that's just polishing a turd on Senator James Lankford's part, because when you see ads that come out like President Joe Biden's putting out, and when you see the stories like, hey, Oklahoma, here we go, a woman was just denied from the United Supreme Court. They just said they wouldn't hear the case, where she sued OU Medical Center because they wouldn't see her to have an abortion. They actually said, hey, go out to the parking lot, stay in your car, and when you're just about to die, well, we can do it. Which is crazy on the part, because here you are, you're going to put your life into people's hands to try to save you when you're literally teetering on death. And that's the care you're going to get. That would scare the hell out of anybody. That would make you so anxious. So what'd she do? Instead of trying to just wait until she's teetering on death, she decided to go somewhere else and get an abortion. Because, that's just way too much stress to have to think that, okay, I got to be right at the doorstep of death before you will do anything. And you know what? I might actually still die. So, yeah, that would probably drive a lot of people to go somewhere else to have an abortion. But people like James Lankford, they just don't seem to get that message, or try to want to spin it in a way that makes them sound like, no, we're trying to save the lives of women and children. But that messaging doesn't work. And for people that are usually good at messaging, this really falls flat in a lot of ways. And it's not just with Senator Lankford here. We also have a guy, Representative Jim Olson in Oklahoma, a real big Christian nationalist guy. He's the one who has, hey, 10 commandments in every schoolroom. He also has one, 10 commandments in every office at the state capitol. So whether you're a Muslim senator or representative or atheist or Buddhist or whatever, you get to have a 10 commandments plaque in your office. He wants to pass that law because he's all about making sure we bring God back to America, because that's the problem. Everybody turned away from God. We need to make sure America turns back to God, whether he has to force them to do it or not, which sounds so anti-freedom and un-American on its face, and it is. So there you have it. This guy doing that. And he's not the only one. We have another representative from Moore who actually wants to take language out in a bill, amend a bill, taking the language out, saying that we won't go after the woman who has a miscarriage or an abortion, that we won't try to incriminate her and put her in prison. He actually wants to take that out, put women into prison who have miscarriages and abortions or use contraception. And the thing with Jim Olson is he wants to actually have in the state constitution say that life begins at conception. And to him, this will kill the abortion debate. This kills abortion for everyone, because, hey, if it begins at conception, then we don't need abortion. You don't need an abortion pill. You don't need a morning after pill. You don't even need contraception. As a matter of fact, we're going to make all that stuff like a class 1 scheduled drug, make it illegal, and if you have it, we're going to treat you like a drug trafficker, just like you're dealing heroin in the legal system. That's what he wants to do. And he thinks this is a good move. He thinks that, with everything going on in the nation, this is going to be a winner. And it's just so out of touch with what's going on with everything. But like I said, the guy's a big-time Christian nationalist, and he's one of those type of guys who just likes to force his will on everybody, whether you want it or not. And that's kind of where he is on this stuff. Now, like I said, hey, you got that women in Texas, you got the women in Oklahoma. Let's go to some other red state, Idaho. And let's talk about another thing that we even have here in Oklahoma, and that's OGBYN deserts. There's counties in Oklahoma that do not have an OGBYN. None. Zero. Nada. They actually have to go up to 60, 80, 100 miles to get any prenatal care. This is for women who want to keep the pregnancy. Hey, I want to have a kid. Me and my husband want to have kids. We're all right, we're pregnant. Now we got to go up to 80, 100 miles just to see an OGBYN because the county I live in doesn't have one. And it's worse in places like Idaho. Idaho, some women have to go to Washington, over 100 miles away in some cases, in another state to get prenatal care from OGBYN because their laws are so radical. And you think it's bad enough in Oklahoma, Idaho, hey, it's the middle of winter. They have feet of snow and mountains, and you're going to have to drive over 100 miles in some cases to see an OGBYN through all that snow and mountains and everything else. How dangerous is that? How much of a burden is that? And so you really see it in places like Idaho where the OGBYN deserts are that make it really a tough place to live for women. There's a reason why, like, Oklahoma is like the worst state for women. And it's not just because of health care, maternity care, prenatal care, so high domestic abuse, poor education choices, everything else in this state, poor support systems and everything else. So we have the worst state for women because of conservative, radical, right-wing policies when it comes to things like abortion and health care, and when it comes to things like prenatal care and things like food assistance and everything else for single moms or anybody else. And yet they want to force women to have babies and then not help them at all once they have the kid. And this is exactly like it is in most red states. Well, then they should just get a job and do it. But they got kids, man. Nothing is realistic with these guys. Just zero, nada, nothing. And so that's what you get. So we have a lack of OGBYNs. We have these crazy laws because, and the reason why you have a lack of OGBYNs is because they don't want to work in a state like that. You think about it. A lot of these professionals, because that's what they are, they want to do their profession. They don't want to have to worry about losing their license or getting sued or going to prison for 100 years because someone had a miscarriage and it got investigated weird. So they're going to go to places where they can do their job and not have that kind of stress. It just makes sense. Hey, well, I want to go where the easy money's at. That just makes sense. So that's why they're not in places like Oklahoma. That's why they can't get them to stay here in Oklahoma or even want to come here in the first place because, man, your laws are so radical over there against prenatal care and what we can do with women that it just makes them think, I don't really want to go there. That's a lot of worry and stress and extra hoops to make the money that I could make over here. So it's like they're not thinking. It's almost like Republicans love this capitalism stuff, but they just really don't understand it sometimes. And so that's what we get. And that's where we're at with this abortion debate, prenatal care debate, and everything else. And why you can see that it's a big loser for Republicans and a big winner for Democrats. As we're seeing poll after poll, contest after contest, go to Democrats in this nation when it comes to the abortion issue, maternity care, and women's health care. Well, this is Across the Desk, ending episode 1 here in season 9. And like always, we will be seeing you next week.